Picture this. It's the year 1119 AD. The dust of the Holy Land clings to everything. You are a pilgrim, exhausted but resolute, traveling the treacherous road from the port of Jaffa to the sacred city of Jerusalem. The First Crusade may have liberated the city 2 decades ago, but the Kingdom of Jerusalem is an island of Christian control in a vast sea of hostile territory. Every shadow in the rocky hills could hide a Saracen raiding party or a common bandit. Your small group huddles together, clutching wooden crosses and whispering prayers, but you know prayer alone is no defense against a drawn sword. Suddenly, from a rocky outcrop, armed men on horseback descend, their shouts echoing through the valley. It is the moment you have feared. But then, another sound, a thunder of hooves from the opposite direction. 2 knights, their chainmail glinting under the harsh sun, charge into the fray. They fight not with the wild abandon of mercenaries, but with a cold, disciplined fury. These are Hugues de Payens and Godfrey de Saint-Omer, and they and a handful of others have taken a radical vow. They have seen too many pilgrims like you cut down. In a world where a man was either a monk who prayed or a knight who fought, they have decided to be both. They are the seeds of a new idea, a brotherhood of warrior monks, sworn to poverty, chastity, and obedience, whose sole purpose is to protect the road you now stand on. Fast forward 10 years to the Council of Troyes in 1129 AD. The chill of a French winter has replaced the heat of the Levant. Inside the cathedral, the most powerful men in Christendom are gathered. Hugues de Payens stands before them, no longer just a rugged knight from a distant land, but the advocate for a revolutionary concept. He needs the Church's official blessing. The fate of his small, poor fellow soldiers of Christ hangs in the balance. All eyes turn to one man, Bernard of Clairvaux, the most influential cleric in Europe, a Cistercian abbot whose words can make or break kings. Bernard rises, his simple monk's robes a stark contrast to the finery of the bishops. He speaks with a burning passion, arguing that these knights are a new chivalry, one that can wield a sword in God's service without sin. He declares that to kill a malefactor for Christ is not homicide, but Molaycide, the killing of evil itself. His oratory is electrifying. It sways the council. Pope Honorius II grants the order official recognition. They are given their iconic white mantles, symbolizing purity, and a strict rule of conduct penned by Bernard himself. They are no longer a vigilante band. They are the Knights Templar, a sanctioned army of God, and their journey from obscurity to immense power has just begun. Imagine London in the mid-13th century. The Templars have become an institution woven into the fabric of Europe. Their headquarters, the New Temple, is a sprawling circular church and compound on the banks of the Thames, a fortress of faith and finance. The order's initial purpose, protecting pilgrims, has evolved dramatically. They are now the most sophisticated international banking conglomerate the world has ever seen. You, a noble planning to join the crusade, can walk into the New Temple and deposit your fortune in gold. You are given not a heavy, vulnerable chest, but a coated slip of parchment. You can travel across Europe to the Holy Land, present that slip at the Templar preceptory in Acre, and withdraw the equivalent funds in local currency. This ingenious system of credit notes has made them indispensable. Kings, popes, and merchants entrust their wealth to the Templars, whose fortified preceptories are safer than royal treasuries and whose integrity is beyond question. They own vast tracts of land, vineyards, mills, and even a fleet of ships in the Mediterranean. They are wealthy, powerful, and trusted, but as they count their coins and influence, they fail to notice the shadows of envy and suspicion lengthening in the halls of power. The year is 1187. The air in the Galilee is thick with heat and the stench of death. The Christian army of the Kingdom of Jerusalem is broken, surrounded, and dying of thirst. They have been lured into a catastrophic trap by the brilliant Sultan Saladin. On a barren, twin-peaked hill known as the Horns of Hattin, the Templars make their last stand. Led by Grand Master Gerard de Ridefort, they fight with the fanatical courage for which they are renowned. They charge Saladin's own bodyguard not once, but twice, a sliver of white and red in a sea of enemies. But courage cannot conjure water or defeat overwhelming numbers. The battle is a complete disaster. The true cross, the holiest relic of the kingdom, is captured. The Christian army is annihilated. Gerard de Ridefort is taken prisoner, but the fate of his knights is grimmer. Saladin offers the 230 captured Templars a choice: convert to Islam or die. To a man, they refuse. One by one, they are led forward and beheaded, their white mantles stained crimson. The massacre at Hattin is a devastating blow. It shatters the Templars' military mystique and cripples their strength in the Holy Land. For the first time, the seemingly invincible order has proven to be mortal. It is 1291, and the end has come. The city of Acre, the last Christian bastion in the Holy Land, is under siege by the massive army of the Mamluk Sultan al-Ashraf Khalil. The air is filled with the crash of siege engines and the screams of the dying. For weeks, the city's defenders have fought a desperate, street-by-street battle. At the heart of the defense are the Templars, their numbers now perilously few. Their Grand Master, Guillaume de Beaujeu, commands the defense from the city walls. As he directs his men, he is struck by a Mamluk arrow. Staggering back, his men ask if he is badly wounded. "I am not dying," he whispers. "I am dead." With his fall, the last vestige of organized resistance collapses. The remaining Templars retreat to their massive seaside fortress within the city, a final point of defiance. They hold out for 10 more days before the Mamluk sappers undermine the main tower. As the enemy swarms in, the tower groans and collapses, burying the last Templar defenders and their attackers together in a single, dusty tomb. The fall of Acre is more than the loss of a city. It marks the end of the Crusader dream. The surviving Templars evacuate to Cyprus, their original mission, their very reason for being, now lost forever. We are now in Paris, in the early years of the 14th century. Seated on the throne of France is King Philip IV, a man known as Le Bel, or the Fair, for his handsome, emotionless features. But behind his stony facade is a mind that is cunning, ambitious, and utterly ruthless. His endless wars against England and Flanders have left the royal coffers empty. Philip is deeply, cripplingly in debt. And who is his primary creditor? The Knights Templar. From his palace on the Isle de la Cite, he can see the imposing walls of the Paris Temple, the order's headquarters, and the financial center of Europe. He sees not an order of holy knights, but a state within his own state, arrogant, secretive, and obscenely wealthy. With the Holy Land lost, the Templars have no clear military purpose, yet their power and riches continue to grow. To Philip and his calculating ministers, they are an anachronism and, more importantly, a threat. Their immense wealth represents a tempting solution to the crown's financial woes, and their international autonomy is an insult to his vision of absolute monarchy. A dangerous plan begins to form in the king's mind, a plan to seize their fortune and crush their power once and for all. The date is Friday, October 13th, 1307. Before the sun has risen over Paris, a cold, drizzling rain falls. A clandestine operation, planned in absolute secrecy by King Philip's chief minister, Guillaume de Nogaret, is unleashed. All across France, simultaneously, the king's men move. They surround every Templar preceptory, castle, and farm. At the Paris Temple, they hammer on the great doors. The aging Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, and his knights are taken completely by surprise. They are arrested not by soldiers, but by civil officials, served with royal warrants listing charges so vile they are almost unbelievable. Heresy. Spitting on the cross during secret initiation rites. Worshipping a demonic idol in the form of a bearded head named Baphomet. Institutionalized sodomy. The operation is a masterpiece of ruthless efficiency. Within hours, the most powerful military religious order in Christendom is decapitated. The knights, who once answered only to the Pope, are dragged from their beds and thrown into royal dungeons, their assets seized by the crown. The shockwave reverberates across Europe. The untouchable Templars have been brought low, not by a Saracen army, but by a Christian king on a day that will forever be associated with bad luck. Imagine a cold, damp cell deep beneath a royal castle. A Templar knight, his white mantle long since stripped from him, hangs from the ceiling by his wrists, his shoulders dislocated by the torture of the strappado. Inquisitors, working under the direction of King Philip's agents, circle him like wolves. They do not seek the truth. They seek confirmation of the charges. The questions are relentless. the methods brutal. They show him instruments of torture, the rack, which will stretch his body until his joints tear apart, hot irons to sear his flesh, wedges to crush his bones. They burn the soles of his feet with hot lard until the bones fall out. Day after day, the agony is unbearable. Sleep-deprived, starved, and broken by pain, the knight hears whispers of his brothers confessing in other cells. His will erodes. Is loyalty to his order worth this unending torment? Finally, with a choked sob, he confesses. He admits to spitting on a crucifix. He admits to the obscene kiss. He admits to worshiping the idol. His confession, like hundreds of others extracted under similar duress, is meticulously recorded. Philip now has the evidence he needs to present to a horrified world and a wavering pope. The systematic torture has created the very crimes the Templars stand accused of. The scene is the Council of Vienne in 1312. Pope Clement V, a Frenchman by birth, finds himself trapped. He had initiated his own inquiry into the Templars, and outside of France, the knights were largely found innocent. Many of the bishops and cardinals gathered here are skeptical of the outrageous charges, seeing them for what they are, a power grab by the French king. But King Philip is not a man to be denied. He marches his army to the gates of Vienne, a clear and present threat to the Pope and the Council. Philip does not need the Templars to be found guilty. He just needs them to cease to exist. Under this immense pressure, Pope Clement caves. He does not issue a verdict of guilt, which would be a canonical impossibility given the flimsy evidence. Instead, citing the immense scandal that has tainted the order's name and claiming it is for the good of the Church, he issues a papal bull, Vox in Excelso. With the stroke of a pen, he unilaterally dissolves the Knights Templar. He orders their vast properties to be transferred to their rivals, the Knights Hospitaller, though King Philip ensures a massive administrative fee is diverted to the French treasury. It is not justice. It is a political execution, the final betrayal by the very institution the Templars had sworn to defend. March 18, 1314. A pyre has been erected on a small island in the river Seine, in the heart of Paris, with the spires of Notre Dame visible in the twilight. Two figures are led forth, the Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, and his comrade, Geoffrey de Charny. After 7 years in prison, they have been condemned as relapsed heretics for recanting their forced confessions. As they are bound to the stake, de Molay addresses the silent, watching crowd. His voice, frail with age but firm with conviction, rings out across the water. He proclaims the innocence of the Knights Templar and the purity of their rule. Then, as the executioners light the wood and the first flames begin to lick at his feet, he issues a final, chilling prophecy. God knows who is wrong and has sinned. Soon a calamity will occur to those who have condemned us to death, he shouts. Pope Clement, King Philip, within a year and a day, I summon you to the judgment seat of God. The crowd watches, mesmerized and terrified, as the two men are consumed by the fire. The legend of the curse takes immediate hold. Pope Clement V dies of a wasting disease just 1 month later. King Philip the Fair dies from a stroke suffered during a hunting accident before the year is out. The Templar order is gone, but in their fiery end, a myth is born that will intrigue and mystify the world for centuries to come.